In the early hours of morning in Iloilo City, the river moves slowly past rows of small wooden houses balanced on uneven ground. Inside one of those houses, a teenage boy wakes before sunrise and carefully opens a worn violin case. The violin inside is old, its wood scratched, its strings slightly rusted, but to him it is priceless. It once belonged to his grandfather, who played it in church when times were easier. Beside him, his younger sister sits cross-legged on the floor, rubbing sleep from her eyes and reaching for a small keyboard with chipped keys and faded paint. They are poor children raised by a mother who cleans houses and washes clothes for other families just to put food on the table. Their father passed away years ago, leaving behind silence and responsibility far too heavy for young shoulders. Music became their shelter. Neighbors started calling the boy Jesus because of his gentle eyes and long hair, and his sister Maria because she always wrapped herself in a blue shawl when she played hymns in church. The names stuck not as a joke but as a sign of how their music made people feel calm and safe. Every evening after chores they play together by the river. The boy draws slow melodies from the violin while his sister follows softly on the keyboard. People passing by stop to listen, sometimes crying quietly, sometimes just standing still. They do not charge money, but sometimes someone leaves bread or fruit beside them. Music is how they pray, how they remember their father, how they survive. One afternoon, a tourist records their duet and uploads it online. Weeks later, a message arrives inviting them to audition for Ireland's Got Talent. Their mother reads it again and again, unable to believe it. They have no money for travel, no proper instruments, no confidence that they belong on a stage like that. But they pray together and decide to trust. The journey to Ireland feels unreal. The cold air stings their faces, the buildings feel too tall, the streets too wide. Backstage at Ireland's Got Talent, they sit quietly holding hands, surrounded by performers with shiny instruments and confident smiles. Their clothes are simple, clean but worn. The violin case looks fragile next to expensive gear around them. A producer asks if they are nervous, and the sister nods while the brother smiles gently, saying they play for God, not for judges. When their names are called, they walk onto the stage, slowly blinking under the bright lights. The audience falls silent. The judges study them closely, noticing the simplicity, the humility, the lack of polish. One judge leans back, folding arms, another tilts their head, uncertain. They introduce themselves softly, saying they are from Iloilo City and that they play music to honor God and their family. There is polite applause but also hesitation. The judges ask what they will play, and the boy answers a duet they wrote together, inspired by faith. The music begins quietly. The boy lifts the violin to his shoulder and draws the bow across the strings. The first note is long, aching and pure, filling the theater like a deep breath. The sister joins, gently pressing the keys with careful fingers. The sound is delicate, almost fragile, yet powerful. Something shifts in the room immediately. The judges lean forward without realizing it. The audience grows completely still. As the melody builds, the violin sings with sorrow and hope intertwined. The keyboard wraps around it like comfort, like a heartbeat, steady and warm. Their music feels less like a performance and more like a prayer offered openly. The camera cuts to the judges. One has already placed a hand over their mouth, eyes shining. Another blinks hard, struggling to stay composed. The siblings play with eyes closed, faces calm, transported back to the riverbank in Iloilo City, where they first learned to listen to each other's hearts. The duet grows stronger, rising and falling like waves. The boy's bow moves faster, drawing emotion from every string, while the sister's hands follow, instinctively supporting, guiding, lifting. The music tells a story of loss, poverty, faith and love without a single word. Tears begin to fall openly in the audience. A judge wipes their cheek, embarrassed by the emotion yet unable to stop it. Another judge leans forward, elbows on the table, head bowed as if in prayer. Midway through the piece, the music softens almost to silence. The violin holds a trembling note while the keyboard pauses. The sister then enters alone with a simple melody, fragile and innocent. The boy listens, then joins, gently lifting the sound together again. The judges are no longer judging. They are feeling, remembering, believing. One judge whispers something to another while tears fall freely. The audience breathes together as if afraid to break the moment. As the final movement begins, the music swells with quiet power. The violin soars high, carrying longing and devotion, while the keyboard supports with warmth and strength. The sound fills every corner of the theater, touching hearts deeply. One judge stands slowly before the music even ends, overwhelmed, unable to remain seated. Another judge presses both hands to their face, shoulders shaking. When the final note fades, it lingers in the air long after the sound is gone. Silence holds the room for several seconds, sacred and heavy. Then the audience erupts into applause louder than anything before. People stand cheering, crying, clapping without restraint. The judges rise to their feet one by one, applauding through tears. One judge wipes their face and shakes their head, unable to speak. Another bows slightly toward the siblings, hands trembling. The brother lowers his violin and looks at his sister, eyes wide, filled with tears. She covers her mouth, overwhelmed. They bow together, holding hands, shaking. When the judges finally speak, their voices are broken. One says they have never felt something so pure on this stage. Another says this was not just music, it was faith made sound. Tears continue to fall openly. The siblings listen quietly, nodding, crying, smiling all at once. They thank the judges softly, thanking God even more. Backstage, their mother watches on a screen, crying uncontrollably, pressing her hands together in prayer. She remembers nights without food, mornings filled with worry, and evenings where her children played music to keep hope alive. Seeing them move a room full of strangers across the world feels like a miracle. When the siblings return backstage, she hugs them tightly, unable to let go. They ask if they did okay, and she laughs through tears, telling them they were beautiful. That night in their hotel room, the siblings sit on the floor just like at home. The violin rests beside them, the keyboard unplugged but present. They pray together, thanking God not for success but for the chance to share their hearts. Outside, Ireland is quiet and cold, but inside the room there is warmth, peace, and gratitude. They sleep holding hands, afraid the moment might disappear if they let go. In the days that follow, their audition spreads everywhere. People share the video, calling it holy, calling it healing, calling it unforgettable. Messages arrive from strangers saying the music helped them believe again, helped them forgive, helped them feel peace. The siblings do not read most of it. They return home to Iloilo City, to the same river, the same house, the same struggles. But something inside them has changed. When they play now, more people gather, listening quietly, eyes closed, hearts open. On Ireland's Got Talent, the judges still talk about that night, about two poor siblings who came with nothing but faith and left with hearts transformed. And every evening as the sun sets over Iloilo City, a violin and a small keyboard sound softly by the river, reminding anyone who listens that beauty can rise from poverty and faith can be heard without words.